Welcome back. Here's your latest housing market update according to a brand new report from Redfin just posted on Thursday. They are reporting that inventory is still rising, which is highly unusual. And also we're seeing more new listings compared to last year. It says, while inventory remains low, historically speaking, there has been an unseasonal uptick in the total number of houses for sale nationwide. And also it reached its highest level since the start of this year. So the amount of houses for sale, the highest level so far this year. Meanwhile, new listings increased by 1.5% from 1 year ago, just the second increase since July of 2022 on a year-to-year basis. Additionally, 7% of home sellers have dropped their asking prices. That is the highest portion on record, which, by the way, Redfin's data goes back to 2015. So the share of price reductions right now at all-time record highs. In this report here, they talk about some leading indicators of home buying demand and, of course, the housing market. And every single one of these I have mentioned in previous videos, except for this one actually, though. Redfin's Home Buyer Demand Index decreased 5% from 1 month ago, also down by 5% from 1 year ago. This is a measure of requests of home tours and other home buying services from Redfin agents. So a decrease of home showings nationwide according to Redfin here. So this report here covers the 4 weeks ended November 5th, and they actually look at 400 plus US metros. So let's first talk about home prices. So the median sold price over the past 4 weeks was $368,500. That's up 3.7% compared to 1 year ago. What happened 1 year ago? Home prices were falling greatly, and now over the past really 3 weeks here, home prices have been relatively flat at 3.7% compared to 12 months ago. That's actually the biggest increase in a year. And as they mentioned here, prices are up partly because elevated rates last year really pushed down home prices. One thing I also do want to mention is that I actually looked at what was the change in prices right now compared to the start this year. So overall, when looking at that, we're up by 5.9% year to date. On top of that, even though prices are up year to date and also compared to 12 months ago, we are seeing a seasonal decrease in prices ever since really the fall months this year. So for example, last week in their previous report here, the median sold price was at $369,613. Now it's at $368,500. So we are seeing a seasonal decrease in prices, even though we're up compared to 12 months ago. So let's have a look at this chart looking at home sold prices going back to 2020. I really wish they would provide the figures for 2019 because that's really the best comparison in my opinion, because we had a lot of challenges and a lot of changes in 2020 through 2022. In any case, though, they only provide data going back to 2020 in their chart here. So when looking at the median sold price, it has been relatively flat really over the past several weeks here, but it has been decreasing very, very slowly here. And also we're seeing this seasonal decrease in prices. What happened last year though, over the past 1 month previous to here, prices were falling greatly, whereas this year falling very, very slightly here. That's one of the reasons why we're up by 3.7% compared to 2022. And of course, up greatly from 2020, because back then the median sold price was only $300,000. Now it's approaching $370,000. If I had to guess, we should expect to see prices decrease because home prices tend to decrease in the winter months. Unlike 2021 though, back in late August of 2021, rates decreased to nearly all-time record lows to about 2.8%. That's why home prices increase for the remainder of the year. That is highly unusual. So I would expect to see a seasonal decrease in prices coupled with the fact that we have rates at 7.5%, which is really decreasing home buying demand, which should cause prices to decrease more than expected, is my guess. In any case, going back to Redfin's report here, they also shared how each of the 50 most populous metros fared because, of course, there's some very big differences regarding prices here. So out of the 50 biggest metros here, there's only 4 metros that were down compared to 1 year ago. About 2 months ago, there was 20. Now there's only 4. Again, that's because prices were falling much faster at this time last year compared to this year. So the biggest increases year over year is actually in Newark, New Jersey, a giant increase of 14.4%. Then we had Anaheim, California, San Diego, Cincinnati, Ohio, and New Brunswick, New Jersey, all up by more than 10%. The only 4 metros that were down was Austin, Texas, leading the nation yet again. Look at that, down 5.7% compared to Fort Worth, only down by 2%. Then we had Tampa down by 0.9% and Portland, Oregon down by 0.6%. So really, 2 of these metros here are very close to being in positive territory. I would imagine this number could be about 2 metros in their next report in about a week from now. We shall see. Okay, let's change gears slightly here and talk about the average monthly housing payment, because that is actually very close to an all-time record high, just $8 per month shy of those record highs that was set about 2 weeks ago. So the median monthly mortgage payment, that's based on the median asking price nationwide and also based on weekly rates 1 week ago, according to Freddie Mac at 7.76%. So the median monthly mortgage payment, just over $2,700 per month. Now this rate at 7.76%, again, is the rate from a week ago. So actually about 10 minutes ago, Freddie Mac announced this, which was again on November 9th. The average 30-year fix actually decreased to 7.5%. According to Sam Cater, who's their chief economist, he stated the following: as treasury yields decrease, the 30-year dropped 0.25%, the largest 1-week decrease since last November. Incoming data shows that household debt continues to rise. As I reported to you guys, we have all-time record highs for credit card balances on a national level based on a new report from the Fed yesterday. It also says here that many consumers are feeling strained by the high cost of living due to high inflation. So unless rates decrease significantly or home prices also decrease significantly, the housing market will remain stagnant. So one thing I do want to mention as well is that it says here that rates were at 7.76% 1 week ago. Now they're at 7.5%. 1 year ago at this time, we were at 7.08%. As a note right there, this decrease from 7.7 to 7.5% is actually the second consecutive week of decreases of rates. However, the rate 2 weeks ago was at 7.79%. At that time, that was a 23-year high for rates, the highest levels since November of 2000. So even though rates have decreased for 2 consecutive weeks now, we're only 30 basis points below the 23-year high. And coupled with the fact that prices overall are up by nearly 4%, of course, housing affordability is still a huge challenge right now. I also want to share daily rates as well, because Freddie Mac provides weekly rates. So according to the Mortgage News Daily, this is actually as of the November 8th, Wednesday, we were at 7.41%. But because the 10-year has increased by about 6 basis points today to 4.57%, I'm guessing that once the Mortgage News Daily updates their website on November 9th, I'm guessing this rate is going to be around 7.45%. And also, I'll have my editor add that rate, whatever it is, once it gets announced. But again, probably around 7.45% is my best guess. In any case, at rates around 7.4 to 7.5% right now, this is quite a bit lower compared to the 8% rates we saw about 2 weeks ago on October 25th. So even though rates are still very much elevated, I mean, especially when you account for the fact that prices are still very much elevated, they have decreased by about 60 basis points compared to about 2 weeks ago. Also, when looking at daily rates, according to Investopedia.com, we're looking at a rate at 7.91%. Again, that's for a wider range of FICO scores in the range of 700 to 760, whereas other websites such as Freddie Mac, as well as the Mortgage News Daily, looks at rates for people with exceptional credit over 740. Okay, let's get back to Redfin's report here though, because they actually provided some stats regarding pending home sales, new listings, as well as housing inventory. So pending home sales actually decreased by 9% compared to 12 months ago. There was around 67,000 contracts being signed. New listings actually increased by 1.5%. This is quite the turnaround because I've been reporting to you guys that new listings and pending home sales have been decreasing by double digits year over year, but now it's actually up by 1.5% for new listings. This marks the second year-over-year increase since July of 2022. This increase is partly due to the fact that new listings were falling much faster at this time last year compared to this year. In regards to active listings, there's around 863,000 houses for sale, and that is a decrease of 9.4% year over year, the smallest decrease since July, and also the highest level since the start of 2022. So pretty wild though is that even though active listings is down 9.4% from a year ago, active listings is still increasing and also the highest level so far this year. One thing I want to mention though is that when I made this video 1 week ago, I reported to you guys how active listings increased big time last week, whereas this week, only a small increase. 1 week ago, the number of houses for sale was at 859,000 approximately. Now it's at approximately 863,000. So an increase still, but the gains compared to 1 week ago is actually slowing down. And this more or less is expected because we shouldn't be seeing increases of active listings because during this time of year, inventory levels tends to decrease. So it's highly unusual to see an increase, but the gains are actually slowing down. And also having said that, I would imagine that inventory levels should start decreasing sometime in November because of seasonality. Now, speaking of active listings or housing inventory, again, it's down 9.4% from 2022. Here's 2022, a sharp increase of inventory levels in the spring and early summer months here, whereas this year, we're seeing this slow, gradual increase ever since April this year. And right now, we're above levels in 2021, but still below levels in 2022, as well as 2020. In regards to new listings, a measure of the amount of people who are listing their houses for sale, we're actually up by 1.5% year over year. Right now, new listings are seeing a seasonal decrease, but we're not decreasing at the same rate we saw last year, which is the red line right there. And the reason why new listings were falling very sharply last year was because mortgage rates increased by more than double last year, which really caused the number of people deciding to list their houses for sale to decrease greatly as well. Now, not only are we seeing a decrease of new listings, but of course, we're seeing a decline of pending home sales, down 9% year over year. Fairly a significant decrease over the past several weeks here. Also, every single week this year, which is the orange line, has still been below 2022 as well as 2021. So big picture here, we're seeing a pullback in home buying demand as evidenced by a decrease of pending home sales, but also we're seeing a decrease of new listings as well. So low supply is meeting low demand. Now, speaking of home buying demand, pending home sales only increased in 2 of the 50 most populous metros compared to 12 months ago. Those 2 metros was Las Vegas, pending home sales increasing by 3.4%. Then we had Anaheim, California, a gain of 1.1%. In contrast, 48 of the 50 most populous metros are reporting decreases. The biggest decline actually is in San Antonio, Texas, down by 26%. Then we had Portland, Oregon, Sacramento, California, Virginia Beach, Virginia, and Seattle, Washington. In regards to new listings, those decrease in roughly half of the 50 biggest cities here. So the biggest increases was San Jose, California, rising nearly 18%. Then we had Phoenix, Tampa, West Palm Beach, Florida, and Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. The biggest declines were actually in Atlanta, Portland, Oregon, then we had Seattle, Newark, New Jersey, and then Providence, Rhode Island. Additionally, in regards to the month supply right now, on a national level, the month supply is at 3.6 months. This means at the current sales pace, all houses listed for sale right now, assuming no new listings were to hit the market, all the houses listed for sale right now would be sold in 3.6 months. This is below levels compared to the previous month, but still higher compared to 2022, which is the red line right there. Also, it's much higher compared to 2020 when the month supply was at 2.5 months, and also above levels in 2021 when the month supply was around 2.2 months. Let's also discuss how fast or how slow houses are selling right now. So days in the market is at 34 days. This means it's taking about 2 days faster to sell a house compared to 1 year ago, which is right there. Days in the market 1 year ago was around 35 days. Now it's at 34 days. Also, as I mentioned at the very beginning of this video here, the share of price reductions has reached an all-time record high, technically tied compared to 1 week ago at 6.8% right now, which is this sharp increase compared to the last several months here, and also above levels in 2022, of course. The share of price reductions at 6.8% is much higher compared to 2021 and 2020 when the share was around 3%. Now it's at nearly 7% right now. Also regarding the average sale price to final list price ratio, that's at 99.0%. This means out of all the houses that sold over the past 1 month, on average, they sold for 1% below the seller's final list price. That, by the way, is the lowest levels we've seen going back to April this year. With that said, please let me comment below with your biggest takeaways from today's video. Also, check out the link below if you guys want a real estate agent referral, or go to realestateteamfinder.com. Hope you guys have an awesome day. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.